Hi, how's it going everyone? Welcome to Rads. Let's talk today in this video Nottingham Forest and transfers, of course. Still plenty of rumours going on, and I think we can all agree we still need a couple or few more players to come in this window. And I think after the first game of the season, we can have a proper assessment of where we're at. I think looking at that game, it wasn't a bad performance at all. I think the second half we definitely dwindled away, and this is not a match review, but I think if we're looking at it, we definitely saw a few areas that stood out most, and that is probably fullback. I think looking at Harry Toffolo coming on, I love Toffolo. I think we can all say Toff is a good bloke. You know, I'm sure he likes a nice croissant, but is he as good as Aina? Probably not. Thankfully, for that reason, Nottingham Forest are in the market for a fullback, so we'll be talking about that. Striker was the other, probably even more blatant area that we need to be looking at. Now, I know the striker that started that game scored a goal in Chris Wood, who is still going to be vital this season and should be vital. And he's still a fantastic player, but ultimately, he's ageing. And if more than anything, we look at his backup now, because Chris Wood has surpassed Tyrell Awoniyi. Tyrell Awoniyi, unfortunately for him, just cannot stay fit. So striker and fullback seems to be the areas that Forest are most focused on. There's obviously to talk about goalkeepers, maybe even a midfielder. Now Danilo is going to be out for some time. That injury doesn't appear to be as bad as we first feared, because it looked like it was a season-ending one initially. Apparently it could be 6 to 8 weeks, which in the circumstances is a very good outcome, but it could open the door potentially. But of course, last week we made a new signing in Ramon Sosa, who was announced at the City Ground in front of everybody before that Bournemouth game. Reportedly cost £11.7 million with £5 million in add-ons and a 15% sell-on clause. This all according to Fabrizio Romano. And of course, he is a winger, if you didn't know, and he can play both sides, especially on the left, and only 24 years of age, Paraguayan international. A lot to be excited about, and he looks very excited to be at the club too. And finally, we've got hopefully some very good support now to Anthony Elanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi, because last season there was far too much pressure on both of those two. So hopefully Ramon Sosa and Jota Silva can offer us that much needed depth on the wings. And let's now look at the central area of attack. In striker, of course, Eddie Nketiah is being reportedly linked with Nottingham Forest. Of course, this is something that has been going on a few days now. I've not mentioned it though in any of these transfer videos, but I'll be a big fan of this one. I think if we're looking at it, he's got Premier League experience, unlike the other striker that we're being linked with. I think you probably know who it is. We'll get onto it. 6 goals in 32 games last season for Arsenal, nearly 170 games for the Gunners. So plenty of experience in the Premier League, only 25 years of age. He's never really... He has had a lot of games, you know, from what I just said with Arsenal, but most of those I would imagine have probably been sub games or cup matches, because he's had some big moments for Arsenal for sure. He's always probably been the second fiddle to someone like Gabriel Jesus, or even going back a bit further, even like Aubameyang, for example. So he probably, for his own sake, could do with being the first choice, or just going somewhere where he's going to play more games, and you'd imagine we could offer him that. Forest have reportedly, according to The Athletic, had a £25 million bid plus add-ons rejected by Arsenal. They value him at around 30 to 35 million, so it would be quite costly, on top of Elliot Anderson costing that much as well. It's another very big signing in terms of finance, and you'd imagine he's probably on pretty big wages. So that's my only concern with Nketiah, is it probably would be quite expensive. But if we want to be ambitious, it's going to cost, isn't it? And as much as we love Tyrell and Woody, and especially Woody nowadays in terms of how reliable he can be, they're not always going to stay fit, are they? So we're going to need to bring somebody in to push them both. Just a quick word though from our sponsors at Football Prizes. This week they're giving away another excellent giveaway in the hands of a signed, framed dual display from Murillo and Willy Bolly. If you want to get your hands on this, then the giveaway runs until Monday the 26th of August at 7:30 in the evening. So please click the link in the description below this video, at the top of the description. That's where it will be. Also the iCard as well. I'm giving you options here, you know, there's no excuse. There's also 15 instant prize wins as well in this giveaway, which could see you win potentially a signed shirt from Felipe or Harry Toffolo. So please be sure to check out Football Prizes in the description of this video. And yeah, on with the video. Crystal Palace are also interested in Nketiah, but Nketiah, according to The Athletic, which is always, for me, probably the most reliable source out there, he does appear to be our #1 target. And I'd be a big fan of it. I'd also be a big fan of Santiago Gimenez. He's been in the pipeline for a bit longer. Obviously, a very impressive record with Feyenoord in the Eredivisie. He's already scored 4 times with them this season in 3 games. 26 goals last season for Feyenoord, and he's already won the Eredivisie title with them as well. So a prolific striker over there in the Netherlands. But I think we've already said multiple times now, can we really trust that? Because it's the Eredivisie, it isn't the Premier League, and it's just not just the Dutch league, it's the Scottish League, the Belgian League, the Portuguese League, for example. When you sign players from there, it's like, can they make the step up? It's not being arrogant, it's just being truthful. And we've seen it with Ibrahim Sangara. It's taken him about a year to even look half decent, hasn't it? And I'm not saying that Gimenez is going to be like that, but it's the same old story, really. If we don't sign him, he'll go to Crystal Palace, he'll score 3 goals past us later in the season. So it's like, do we gamble? This is why I personally favour Nketiah, purely because he's got that Premier League experience, which I think really is that important. Gimenez, prolific goal scorer, even more so than Eddie Nketiah, but it's a bit more of a gamble, in my opinion. We've had a £29 million bid rejected for him, apparently, and obviously, surely we only want one of these players. It would be stupid to go for both of them, unless we're Chelsea and we're going to sign as many forwards and players as we possibly can. But either of these I would genuinely be really, really pleased with, but let's just see how it unfolds. I want to briefly mention Gonzalo Montal as well. He was reportedly in potential talks to rejoin Forest, and it would cost around about 9 million if this was to be the case. However, I won't talk about it for long because The Athletic have already said that it's pretty much not going to happen. So I'm pretty relieved by that, because I think Montal actually had some really good games for Forest. That Man United game, the Newcastle game away from home, he had some excellent moments, but he also had, more often than not, moments where you think you're a waste of space. It was just far too inconsistent, didn't really suit English football, at times was just not really what we needed, was it? So I feel if we want to progress, okay, Montal could be a good depth player, I think he generally could have been, but is he as good as Nico? No. Is he as good as Aina that could play on that side? No. Is he even as good as Eric da Silva Moreira? Who knows? So I just feel he can do better. Let's be ambitious. Looking at the fullback positions again, we've got Alex Moreno being linked with us from Aston Villa, a player that we were after in our first Premier League season. Only back then, if you remember, he reportedly rejected to join us and ended up joining Villa instead. So I don't really like the idea of someone rejecting us and then signing for us a few years later. Okay, we were completely improving back then in the Premier League. We now, he'll know what he's going to get with us, but I don't know. I don't really know if I want to go back in for somebody that rejected us previously. He's getting mixed reviews in terms of his ability. From what I can tell from the outside looking in, actually had a very good start at Aston Villa, and then he really did kind of dwindle away, and he's now out to favour to the point where they're going to sell him potentially. There's plenty of other clubs linked with him, Villarreal, Sevilla, Valencia. So I'm not too sure about this one. Part of me thinks, yeah, absolutely, I think that would be good, but I just, looking at how he did last season, for example, he started the season with quite a bad injury, then he came back, played quite a lot of games, then got injured again towards the end, and just genuinely I'm hearing some very, very mixed reviews from people in terms of how good of a player he is, and I have seen him play, but I'm seeing mixed reviews in terms of people that have seen him more, and I'm a bit concerned about that, as well as the fact that he rejected us once. Another one that we're being linked with though at fullback is a player again that we've also been linked with in the past, Adrian Trett. He's a left back from Rennes. Again, I never know how to say that. 4 seasons of regular football in the French league. Again, is he good enough for the Premier League? I would have a feeling that he might be, because you've got the likes of Wolves, Liverpool and Man United being linked with him. Regular experience in the European competitions as well, all 3 of them, by the way. It was at the Olympics with France and played all but 1 game as they reached the Olympic final against Spain. So that's not at all a bad CV, and I'd be probably more in favour of this one than Moreno, even though Trett hasn't got Premier League experience. He's only ever played for 1 club in 1 country, so that's something we should probably not be all too concerned about. But Trett's younger, he's only 22, and he's also, you know, a very experienced player already at that age, whereas Moreno is kind of on his way out a little bit with mixed reviews. So I'm not sure who would be better here. I'd probably favour Trett. And just to end the video, I've got a couple of outgoing rumours that seem to be pretty distant, so I thought I'd put them at the end for that reason. Miton is being linked with a move away to nobody in particular, but the Athletic do report that he is going to leave the club this window, potentially permanently, and for his own good, he should do, because it's a real shame with Miton, because he really was meant to be this wonder kid, and it just hasn't worked. Us getting promoted basically killed his career, because in the Championship for us, I mean, I hate to say it, but in the Chris Hughton season, he was probably our best player, or one of. He wasn't the best player, it was probably, I don't really want to think about that season. I tried to erase it from my mind, but you know, he was one of our best players that season. He was playing quite a lot of regular football in the English second tier for us, and then he can't even perform for Port Vale and Sheffield Wednesday in League One and in Belgium at the bottom end of their league. So it's just been a disaster for Miton, and now he's playing in the reserves again with us. So I don't know what level he's at, but for his own good, he probably should move on from Forest. And there were reports not too long ago that Nico Williams and Danilo were being linked with moves away to the Italian league with Atalanta and AC Milan. Well, I doubt Danilo's going to leave now. He's broken his ankle, so that one's pretty much off. But Nico Williams, it's one that I'm very concerned about if this was to go through. I do not want to be losing Nico. I love Nico, and I think he's a crucial player for us, because, I mean, there's nobody else to play right back right now, and he's also just a really good player that I'm a big fan of. So, yeah, I'd be really sad if Nico left, and I've got a good feeling he'll stay. I don't think he will leave, but I'm just reporting what's being reported here, that apparently Atalanta bid 70 million, which is a bit of an insult, because that's what we paid for him. Well, I think he's worth more than that now. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Subscribe to Rads if you're new. This is my latest transfer roundup. I'll be doing these until the end of the transfer window. Yeah, stay tuned to everything that's coming up on the channel this season. So good that it's up and running now, but let's just see what the transfer window has in store. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you soon, everyone. Up the Reds.